Last week I said it was 1,000 years of longing, but that is definitely not the title. It's 3,000 years of longing.
A pause. Do you think that we should do like some sort of like spoiler, like
Spoilers in words at the
yeah,
very
in
beginning. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is the second episode of 2Chicks 2Cents. And in case you forgot, I'm Tiffany, your host.
and I'm Delilah. And
Yay!
last week we talked about the movie You People on Netflix. We did get a little bit of feedback from our close friends and family, and the consensus was pretty much the same. Everybody kind of felt the same way that we did. I feel like the movie maybe was a 6.5, 7 out of 10, and that's about it. It was good. There were a couple triggers, pretty much the same thing throughout from everybody. We did get one note back saying that we were doing too much and it wasn't all that and it was just a hilarious movie. And that was great.
That
We
was, that
really
was from my
loved
brother.
that was from
He's
your
like, you
brother.
guys took it way too seriously.
Which is completely okay. That's great. Like this
Yeah.
is
hmm
we're just people that like to watch movies. So our next movie that we're gonna be talking about is 3,000 Years of Longing. It's on Amazon Prime. Um I did not pick this movie, so Tiffany, tell us about it.
So I originally, when I first watched it, it was a recommendation from a friend of mine, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, the story is amazing. I love it. You should check it out." And it actually took me a while to be able to watch it. I just, at the time, I wasn't really watching a lot at home, and the people that I was watching movies with at work, they were kind of like, I'm not really feeling it. Doesn't look interesting. So it was a while before I actually followed through with her recommendation. But I did, and I loved it, and that was definitely my first impression. And then I was watching it the second time. I was like, okay, I could see where some people might feel like it's a little slow or whatever. But the first time around, none of that was apparent to me. So I'm actually really curious what you thought about this movie. Like, is it even a movie that you would have watched if I didn't ask you to watch it?
So honestly, it is a movie that I would have watched if you hadn't told me. Like the fantasy, that's right up my alley. I love mythical, supernatural, all that stuff. But just from hearing the title last week, because I honestly have never heard of this movie, never heard of the movie, never saw a trailer, never saw any kind of anything about it. So whenever I just heard the title, 3,000 Years of Longing, it gave me vibes like it was like very like an older movie, and then also maybe like I don't even know how to say what I'm meaning. Like the title gave me like the never ending story or the
Ah,
dark crystal or like just older. That's what it gave me for some reason. And so I was like going into watching the movie, I click it and I was like, oh, Idris, first of all, love him. And then I was like, oh, this is fairly newer. These graphics are they're pretty good. And then like the more and more when I was like, oh, this movie's really good. I did have some notes. I don't know that I would watch it again, but I did like it. It was cool.
yeah, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. I love the special effects. Like it felt like whoever made it took their time and cared and like was very it was had very, what do you call it, attention to detail. Um, and so I really appreciated that. It seemed like they just really believed in the story and loved it, and it showed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I read
Um,
in the end credits that it was based on a short story. I wrote it down. Based on a short story by A.S. Byatt. So I thought that was interesting that it wasn't like a book. It was just a short story. Imagine you wrote a random short story and then someone made a movie and Idris was in it. You know what I mean? Like that's you made it
Honestly,
off of
that's
that.
the vibe that it gave me. In my opinion, like whenever they dove into like Idris's like the his backstory and his history and like all that stuff, him telling the stories, I was so engrossed. I was so in there. I was like, oh, he's a great storyteller. And that's the vibe that it gave, like somebody was telling his story.
Yeah.
But then whenever it got back into like reality and everything, I felt like that's where it was lacking,
Mm.
in my opinion. Like I just felt like whenever he asked her to tell him a little bit like about her history and her story, she wasn't a good storyteller and she just kind of graced over everything very quickly, so we didn't get that much from her. Like I just feel like his character arc and development and everything, like it was like so good and we learned so much about him, and then her, I feel like we didn't learn that much about her. So
Yeah, and I think that is kind of reflective of her character being very closed off and
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah.
So that
She
could have
did.
been
She
on
was hiding a
purpose.
lot of stuff. Huh?
I said that could have been on purpose, and
Yeah,
because that's definitely the vibe that it gave. Very closed off.
mhm.
We don't need to know about her. We only need to know about the genie. So honestly, whenever she gave her first wish, I was like, "Really? That was your first wish?" Like, 'cause I was like, "That's not the vibe you were giving off. I thought you were happily alone. I didn't know you were
She wanted to
looking."
be alone with him. Yeah.
Yeah,
She wanted
yeah.
us to be alone. Yeah.
Okay.
Alone
If somebody
together.
was like Idris popping in every once in a while, whatever,
Yeah.
girl. To each his own.
Yeah, I love that she asked that actually, like, because you could tell that when she was hearing the stories, it was like really impacting her view on love. Because like I think
Yeah.
even her first marriage, like it wasn't love.
That
It
sounds like
wasn't
a
that.
marriage of convenience. You learn to
Yeah,
share
yeah.
together,
It just
not
makes
like,
sense. We work together, I tolerate you.
yeah,
And then hearing that, she's like, "Ooh, I want that. I want that."
yeah,
And I thought it was beautiful that she asked for it. Like I would be a little bit like shy and embarrassed and maybe not even say anything, but then still feel it later and wish I did. And then, but and then I loved that he tried. He tried so hard he started to disintegrate later. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that was the other part. Like I love that she recognized it and she's like I couldn't have asked you for that, and she like let him go. It was a very beautiful, very like um I I don't know, I really liked it.
For the people that haven't seen this movie is very recent. I think it's like maybe 2022 or 3. I don't know. I did not look it up.
I
I
don't
did not
remember.
look it
I did have it for the last video, but I forgot.
Yeah. It's recent. But so and the movie is about this lady who is a little bit older and she's a scholar, and she's from London. She occasionally travels to different parts of the world to go and learn more about like their like stories and stuff, and like the things that are passed down from generation, and most times things that are maybe like bedtime stories or uh scary stories, like stuff like that. So that's what she
Myths
goes and
and
researches and kind of like sort of
legends.
debunks. Yeah, legends, stuff like that. That's what she does. And while she's like in, I think it's India or something, she
Istanbul
finds Istanbul. She finds a genie's lamp, basically a genie's bottle,
bottle.
and she rubs it, cleans it, whatever, and genie appears, and she is kind of hesitant to give any wishes because she knows that genies are notoriously tricky. So then he starts telling his backstory and his history and how he even got in the bottle, and then they just kind of sort of fall in love. That's what the movie is about. I was kind of waiting for the whole shooter drop because she so much in the beginning keeps saying how genies are notoriously tricky, which if you watch a lot of like movies like this, fantasy movies, genies are usually tricky. They just kind of want you to use up your wishes so they can either be set free or just be done with you. And so I kind of was waiting for him to be tricky. I thought maybe like he was gonna get caught in some sort of lie or something, or maybe like he was just trying to get free and all that. But like he was being honest, but like just the way that they set it up and the way that she was so hesitant, I was kind of waiting till the very end. I was like, oh, he's just been doing this all along, like trying to trick her. That's what that's what I was like waiting for the whole time.
Did you have a favorite of the three stories that he said about his backstory?
Mm, I think my favorite story was probably the first story, just because like it was like real. Like I'm not a history major or anything, so I don't know like the stuff that they were talking about from the Queen of Sheba and King
Mm.
Solomon and everything. I don't know that stuff or whatever, but I was like, oh, this is very cool, love it. Um that was just cool how they incorporated the like the mythological aspect, and then I loved how it was like so like he was talking about the Queen of Sheba and he was saying that King Solomon came to her, and then the lady was like, I thought that she went to him, like, and he was like, she would never, like, and I'm like, yeah, bad bitch, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, I
And
love
like
that.
how her beauty would have drawn
Yes,
him in, you know?
yes, like why
I
would
like,
she go to him, why would she put in work, like
right,
she's already
right.
a queen in her own
A
right, like she don't
queen,
need
yeah.
him. Yeah,
I grew up learning about that, you know, from the Bible and stuff.
yeah.
And it's interesting that that he would be a wizard or a magician or whatever they called him in the movie.
A jinn.
Because like, huh?
A jinn.
No, he said Solomon was a
Oh yeah,
wizard.
yeah, yeah, they said he was like a magical, yeah.
And that's interesting because, like, so the story is that he asked God for knowledge and wisdom. And, like, he could have asked for anything, but that's what he asked for. So he was granted it. And so his whole entire life, he was just acquiring all of this knowledge. And he would travel. He didn't, abstain from anything. He didn't, say no to anything for himself. And, um, so it makes sense that if he were to acquire some kind of like occultic or witchcraft type things in his pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. And so I thought that was interesting because you don't really like dig deep into the stories that way, but it would make sense because nothing was off the table. And I liked seeing Sheba because like you don't really like she was such a small portion of that story in
Mhm.
the documented um, portion of the Bible, but in there you get to see her and her beauty and her like
Oh, the actress that they chose, she was so beautiful.
so
Oh my god.
stunning. Oh my gosh, stunning. And so it was just nice. It was nice to see that. And
I agree.
yeah, yeah.
I agree. That one, I just thought that that story was like we got the full story and everything. But with the second one, I was like, this story's getting a little bit dark, and then I feel like we're not really getting an ending, like what happened to them, and then but that's kind of how I felt about all of the stories. We never found out what happened to them, and then I wonder if he ever found out what happened to them because he was trapped in the bottle. Did he ever? Because he gets the knowledge once he comes out of the thing, but like, did he ever even find out what happened to these people and like the ending of their stories?
And like if you even think about how much is lost in translation,
Yeah,
and so he would only have access to what we have access to, and so it's never a complete picture. So
yeah.
that would be kind of shitty.
And that's what threw me in all of the stories. I was like, oh, what happened? And then especially that last one, she lost her memory of ever meeting him. But I'm wondering, I'm like, does she? If she lost her memory of ever meeting him, does she know how to open her bottles for all of her books? Does she still have all of that knowledge that she like? Like what? Like does she stay there enslaved in that house? Like all of that stuff. I'm just like, so what happened?
You feel a little bit empty.
Yeah,
Wait, like you want more? You're like what?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I guess like that means that they did a very great job telling the story, but also what happened to them? Like, I that's those are the kind of notes that I would have given. Like, I wish that you guys would have like ended these stories. You only ended one. You didn't end. You guys told us 25 stories, and I only got the ending of one. What about the
I
number
like
24?
I respect that because like it forces you to think on your own like what could have happened, and then
Yeah.
like the power of the storyteller to choose whose story is being told. And I think if we had finished each one, first of all, the person telling the story doesn't know those facts, so how would we get them? And
Exactly.
then it might even take away from his story, the focus on him.
But I thought it was funny how like every time she asked him like, so how'd you get in the bottle, and he was like, I'm not a smart man, and it's just like what? He's like
He's like,
he
I
kept
have
calling
all of
himself
the
dumb.
knowledge in the world. I have all of the
Yeah,
knowledge, but I am not smart.
yeah.
I
I was
guess
like,
that's the
oh,
difference
that's
between
funny.
knowing things and, or like knowledge and wisdom. Like,
Yeah.
you can have all this knowledge and not have wisdom.
Yep.
But he
Or
also, I think he
common
was kind of,
sense.
yeah,
Yep.
I think he was kind of young when he was first
Yeah.
imprisoned. And so that one lesson, all like 1500 years was like, that was just one lesson for him to learn. And then the second time, even though
It was
all
like
this time had passed,
2,500 years. Yeah,
the
that he had to learn
lesson
that
was
first lesson.
slow. Yeah,
That 500 years for the second two.
yeah,
Yeah. And then honestly, I feel like it's not necessarily the that he was learning, like the lesson that he was learning, but it was more so him being empathetic and trying to be in love. Like that's not really something that you can that's not really a lesson that you need to learn because there's nothing wrong with being empathetic or trying to be in love. Like cuz every time he got trapped, that's what was happening. So,
yeah. I would say more like the lessons learned, like when like people like you and me, you're in a relationship and then you're in another relationship and you're in another relationship, and like say you learn things about yourself and about types of people, and you have a
yeah.
lot of people to learn from because it's continually happening. But his
Yeah.
was like one and done, bam. The next person like thousands of years later, and so he didn't have as much
Yeah.
data to like, I don't know,
Like
make better
definitely
choices.
that second story, kind of the girl that he that opened the bottle originally, the second story, I was instantly annoyed and mad at her. I was like
Uh,
she, and I'm like this is like when the wrong person opens the bottle. I'm like she's horrible and dumb. And
uh-huh. And then she's like parading her belly around
yeah,
and
and
being
she's
mean to
being
people.
mean all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
and you're not listening to your genie, and he's trying to help you. Like,
And then why wouldn't she listen in the end, like to save
why wouldn't
herself?
she make one last wish? Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you save you and your baby? Like, you could have easily made a wish and made the whole kingdom like bow down to you until you had your baby. Like, you could have done so many things, and you did nothing and died. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
The
just
third one, I think that one was my favorite. I wouldn't say my favorite because it was still like really sad in the end, but it's
mhm.
my favorite because I feel like I related to the girl the most, just with her um, kind of frustration in the beginning and being alone and having all these like challenges with learning and understanding things. Like I was like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. And I really liked her character, and I thought aside from her being so um like kind of outbursty and won't listen, aside from that, I'm not like that at all. But her curiosity, all that stuff, I really liked watching that, and I liked um seeing how he fell in love with her and fell in love with her mind. I thought that was really beautiful. And that was such a sad ending to that one. And like you said,
Yeah,
you kind of just feel empty and you're like, no, you know.
yeah.
But
I it is a beautiful thing falling in love with someone's mind, but that was my least favorite story.
yeah, that's all right.
I
I
just
don't mind.
I didn't get it. Like I don't understand what the point of like because she was very smart already before she met him, and then she just wanted to know more things. Cool, but what is the point of sitting there enslaved in someone's house working out math problems, like just to do it, and then what?
I think that maybe like where she said, if I were a man in this world, that my intellect would be praised. I think that she had this like understanding of the world that she lived in that limited her her ability to imagine something better for herself. Like, so
Okay.
maybe her only understanding was to be like, well, at least I have this knowledge. Even though I know because I'm a woman, nobody's going to respect me. At least I have it. And at least,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
That makes complete sense. But me, I'm a fixer. So like if I was in
Yeah.
that situation, I'm like, okay, well then I'm just gonna change the world to respect women or like to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would
Use
make
your
that
wishes
my
for
wish or
good.
yeah, like if I would just change my circumstances if that was my circumstance, if I had the option to, if I had a genie. Like that's the part that I didn't get. I was like, girl, why are you wasting your time there? And then
Right.
since they did spend all that time, like she spent all that time there, or whatever, then homeboy fell in love with her and then didn't let her wish to leave. And then she lost
Yeah.
her memory. And I was like, girl, you should have from the jump made your wish to leave or whatever. Then you could have made your wish for knowledge and you guys could have fell in love and you guys would have been happy and none of this ever would have happened.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
it's a story. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. No, I love it. I liked in the very beginning scenes, like when she was on stage giving her lecture and she starts hallucinating. And like in a lot of movies, like the person who's hallucinating totally loses their cool and then they like fly off the handle in some way. But she was very uh aware. She was very aware that this was a hallucination and she kept it together pretty well. And
I
I
did
thought
like
that was
that.
nice.
I was like, yes, girl, you're not letting it like
Yeah.
gun you or anything. Like, but I wish that. So whenever she was, I noticed a couple things when she was hallucinating and that one kind of like attacked her and she passed out on stage.
Hmm.
That same figure, character, whatever, was in the very first story of Queen Sheba and Solomon. Like he's there. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, so is he real? Or that's when it left me. I was like, so is he? But then also when she's gets picked up from the airport and she's with those people and the lady in the back, the black lady. First of all, that's Idris' wife in real life.
Oh,
Second of
cool.
all, she is also in the second story. She's in the washroom of all of the slave women or whatever, like
Oh,
and
was she
she's
the one who was
brought.
supposed to like spy and
Yeah,
then
she's one of the spies. Like she's there. So then I was like, so then is she a spy now, or and I'm like, so is she a gen? Like, like they didn't explain those things whenever we were seeing the same characters throughout the different stories. I'm like, so are they something, or are we just reusing characters, or
that
like,
was something they did in this other show, Good Omens. Did you watch that?
oh yeah, I did watch
The
Good Omens.
second
Well, I watched the
season,
first
this
season.
well, it was in the second season. Someone who was like kind of a repeat character in the first season was in it, and you thought that it was the same person, and it was really confusing, and they didn't explain it. And they did that twice. There were two really big characters from the first season that came to the second. And I was like, I don't get this. But
Mm.
whatever. Eventually you figure out that they're different, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't go back to look and see if like their names were the same. But in the case with the Solomon, the not the Solomon, the bathhouse
Hmm.
version, that one I could potentially explain it to myself as like um, throughout history, who knows how many times your exact genetic makeup
Yeah. Yeah.
came popped up. Like I could see having doppelgangers throughout history. But with the Solomon guy, that one I don't know. Maybe it was some kind of foreshadowing and the director wanted to like see if you notice. It was a good, I'm glad you caught that.
But yeah, overall, it was a good movie. The last thing that I really liked about this movie that we don't see too often was I loved that it was a fantasy mythological legend type, like this type of movie or whatever, with older characters. I feel like every time like we're watching Supernatural or whatever, because I watch pretty much everything you can get your hands on there, but it's usually a teenager or a very young adult. Like it's you don't get them very old, which kind of sucks for like somebody that does really like that vibe and everything. Like, yeah, we live in reality and we know that uh these sort of things don't really happen to people. Well, maybe you never know. But like you kind of, as you get older, you stop believing that this could happen to you, or at least fantasizing if it was to happen to you. So it was really
Yeah.
cool to see someone older. You're like, it's still a possibility. Like, and that's
Yeah.
also how I felt in there's this movie with it's called like it's like something everywhere, me, myself, everywhere, something with
Something
this.
everywhere all at once.
Yes,
I
yes,
haven't
yes,
watched it yet. I
yes.
haven't watched it yet. Maybe we
So
could do it.
I'm not gonna tell you, but it's very good. But she's older. She's an older lady, and some cool supernatural shit happens to her,
I
and
love
that's what
that.
the vibe that, and that's what I really liked from that movie. And I don't remember that happening in any other movie or anything until I saw this one. I was like, oh, I love that they're older. You know,
Hollywood,
like
do more, please. We want to see it. Like
yeah, like I don't like as you get older, it sucks that like you kind of lose that spark and you lose that like hope and like your imagination.
imagination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of lose it getting sucked into the day to day, the mundane things, your reality and everything. So it's nice to see that.
But at the same time, I think like so back in like let's say the 80s and 90s, maybe fantasy was only for kids, but we're all growing up
Yeah,
now, you know?
exactly.
Which I noticed that there are a lot more like animated shows for adults, and that's because we grew
We're
up watching
true.
cartoons
Yep.
and we still like cartoons, you know?
Yep.
So I think maybe we'll start seeing a lot more hope. I'm hoping, this is my
I
hope, that
hope
we'll start seeing a lot more.
Hollywood hear us.
Yes, here it please. We want more fantasy with our age group
Every
and
age
beyond.
group.
Every
Come
age group.
on.
Yeah, every
Like
age group.
something cool could happen to you at any age. That's all I want to see.
Exactly. Yes, yes, I love that. Well, I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. Do
I don't
you?
either. I
Yeah.
do not.
Let's go
I
ahead
don't.
and do our drawings then
Oh yeah,
for,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
well, I guess it's
Well,
just
I
me
don't.
'cause
Yep, we already have our show. Remember, everybody, we are still watching Severance. It'll be our fifth episode. When our fifth episode comes up, we're talking about the show Severance. So everybody,
yes.
make sure you're watching Severance. It is on Apple. Just do that free little trial, then get rid of it. It should
Yeah,
take
and you
eight
could
or so
binge that.
episodes.
Like,
Yes,
literally, I'm already
one
done
day.
watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, oops, I looked. So, okay. Next movie is going to be. Okay, sorry. I dropped it. I looked again. It's like I can't help it. Okay. So this is this upside down? Okay.
Oh, Power Project on Netflix. That was one of my movies. I have
Yay!
seen it one time and I thought it was really cool. So I'm
It
excited.
said I wrote it is an action sci-fi, an hour and 53 minutes, so almost 2 hours, and it was made in 2020.
Yep. And
Cool.
I'm pretty sure that's when I
Or
watched.
released in
Yeah.
2020.
It was like quarantine or something. I'm pretty sure that's around when I watched it. And I was like, this movie's really cool. I was like, they're stepping up their game.
That's
So
cool.
I'm very excited. Have you seen it?
No, no, I have not seen Power
Have you seen
Project.
a trailer?
Nope. I'm not gonna watch one either. Don't tell me
Oh,
anything.
good,
I will
good.
just, and yeah, I like it when I have zero expectations. Because I'm
Same.
like,
I'm always like a
if
little
I
bit
watch a preview, I
apprehensive.
might be like, you know.
No, and since we don't really have a choice in watching it, it's better just to turn it on.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So.
all right. That's all. That's all I have to say about 3,000 Years of Longing.
Don't
It
forget
was good.
to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know
Yeah.
your thoughts on this movie. Did you watch it? Are you inspired to watch it after listening to us? Hopefully you're following along. But I mean, some people, they don't really want to watch stuff and they're like, oh, I'll just see if they liked it. But if you decided to watch it from that, let us know. Let us know.
Or if you have any really great movies or shows that you think that we should add into our drawing,
Yes,
let us
yes,
know in
we
the
do
comments
want to
and we'll
know.
get them down.
Yeah, audience participation. That's what we
That's
want.
what we're aiming for.
Yes.
And then also, if you want to watch a movie with us for our next episode. It's going to be The Power Project on Netflix.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks so
Okay.
much for tuning in. Bye.
Later.